Good morning. We're going to switch gears off March Madness, which we did a lot of yesterday, and the excitement around the SEC basketball tournament. Mississippi State and Ole Miss will be in the big dance. We'll be at the Pearl River Resort Casino and Sportsbook the next few weeks. Looking forward to that, among some other outings. And we'll take it all in. But we're going to talk NFL draft, college football here with Tom Luganbill at 7:30 and Mike Detillier at 8:30. Want to say good morning. Welcome in. The SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. The official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. This is ESPN 105.9 The Zone. National college football analyst Tom Luganbill joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Are you back from skiing?
Yeah, I'm back from skiing. I'm home. I've actually got to go to Arlington, Texas today for the next 2 days for UFL training camp.
Okay. So on the road again. All right.
On the road again. Yep. Starting to get back at it.
All right. Well, let's talk a little NFL draft and Trey Harris. Super talented young man out of Ole Miss. Kiffin picked him up in the portal. He was hurt a good bit this past year, but when he was healthy the last 2 years, he was outstanding. As you evaluate him and project him to the next level of the NFL, what do you see, Tom Luganbill?
Well, I think the number one thing you got to start off with is you mentioned the health part of it. And I think that's something that really has to be examined because it's been my experience at any level of football, but particularly when you're looking at the NFL draft, how available are you in terms of durability? If you have a distinct history of injury, there's a really high likelihood that you're going to have injuries going further. It just may be your makeup. And so I think that's one thing that's got to be determined by whoever would be, looking into Trey. I think the second thing is he has been remarkably productive. You mentioned it. When he's played, he has been really good. A go-to number one receiver, and he did it at Louisiana Tech, and he made the jump to the SEC, and there was really no transition period. And I think that's important to note because clearly he can match up with people. So when you try to project a guy now going to the next level, if you were to ask me, I'd say, okay, well, the learning curve is not going to be overly steep. I think the one thing that he does really, really well is track the deep ball. And whether that's the over-the-shoulder, running away, perfectly thrown ball that's dropped into the bucket, or it's the one-on-one vertical throw where you're covered, it's going to be a 50-50 matchup, and you got to go up and take the ball away. I think those are traits of his that are really, really sound.
And so you wouldn't be surprised if he's there if he stays healthy, 8 or 9 years and has a really productive NFL career.
Yeah, I think, it's an oversaturated position, meaning that there are so many wide receivers, so there's always going to be lots of opportunities. It's, one of those positions where not only do a lot of guys make the roster, but you rotate a lot of guys in and you play a lot of guys. And you can't necessarily say that for every position group. Yeah, but absolutely. And when it comes to the draft, I've always been very guarded, towards overreaching on wide receivers high in the draft. Obviously you're going to have your AJ Greens and you're going to have your Julio Joneses. You're going to have some of these, generational guys, your AJ Browns that are just, Jamar Chase difference makers. Sure. Those guys I get. But for the most part, if you look across the NFL, you can get great value in rounds 3 through 7 for guys that will play a long time. And a lot of those guys end up becoming Pro Bowlers. They end up becoming all pros. And so I think it's a position where you can have some patience.
Do you look at the running back position the same way? It's really, really deep this year. And people are talking about, one or two will go in the first round, but that you can get almost the same value in rounds 2 through 4, as much depth as in the running back position, Luganbill.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about the running back position to me is I think it's kind of making a comeback.
Agree.
If you looked at the last 10 to 15 years and everybody's saying, well, the running back position's been devalued and this and that. Well, the reason why that is because what happened to football was everybody started going to the spread and the spread option and thinning out the field by lining up horizontally, and it became more of a pass-happy situation. Well, then what did defenses do to adapt to that? They got smaller and they got faster. Look at the NFL right now and look at Philadelphia, look at Baltimore, and everybody's getting in two tight end sets, and they are lining up and they are pounding the football. And the reason why is that's their counter to the speedy, fast, hybrid type players that are on defense now, because when you put those guys in a phone booth, and you run right at them, they can't hold up because that's not how they're built. So I feel like the running back position and the offensive philosophy to adjust to what defenses did to adjust to the spread is kind of come full circle. And so the backs that are in this class, Judkins, Travion Henderson, Omarion Hampton, Ashton Genty, I mean, there are guys that are workhorse type players that I think are going to be the kind of the next wave of what the NFL is going to in the run game.
How do you project Quinshon Judkins?
Workhorse, push the pile guy, explosive. I think he can do all of the things you need to do. Really good with the ball in his hands in the passing game. I think that do you remember Jonathan Stewart?
Yeah.
First rounder for the Carolina Panthers. Okay. I think he's very similar to him. Just a push the pile, break the tackle, get the extra yard, always fall forward, and then the explosiveness to break some runs to the second level.
Wow. All right, Tom Luganbill with ESPN on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. You just teed me up. Where do you stand on the tush push? Do you look at it like, hey, defenses adjust, or do you think that they should eliminate it in the game, Lukes?
I don't really care for it, to be honest with you. I'd like for people to line up and have to win the battle mano-a-mano and push the pile and all those sorts of things. I just think it gives a bit of an offensive advantage because you're getting a momentum shift that the defense doesn't have to counter. And listen, if people are fine with that, I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't love it. I'd like for people to line up and have to actually run the football or make a decision or, actually execute a play. But that's not how it works right now.
Okay. Who is your, all right. So I'm looking at the receivers here, McMillan out of Arizona. There's people that talk about that Burden has dropped out of Missouri. You may want to weigh in after him. Egbuka, is that how I say it, from Ohio State?
Yeah, Emeka Egbuka.
That dude, wow. Golden out of Texas. Ayamana out of Stanford. And
Felix Ayobaner, yeah.
I just butchered
Isaiah
that.
Bond.
Yeah, Bond. Here's Bond right here. And back out of TCU. So who is your favorite? Who do you like the most? That wide receivers coming out. Who's your top prospect?
You know, a lot of people say that Tet McMillan is, and I think he's a really good player. I really do. I don't know though. Like, to me, I look at Luther Burden III, and I see a combination of Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown.
Hello.
Kind of, thick, strong, kind of sturdy build, super explosive, and Burden's a return guy too. And I think that gives him extra value. That's something that Tet McMillan doesn't have. But I think if you're looking at the speed and the over-the-top guy, it's Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden. Egbuka, the smartest move he ever made is returning to school because he did not have a good junior year at all. He was very average. They were not happy with him at Ohio State in terms of the production. He came back, proved his worth. I thought it was one of the smarter moves that he made because he upped his value. So I think he's a very, very good player. I think it's as a collective group, it's a good, solid, sound group. I don't know if there's, a Jamar Chase in the group or a Justin Jefferson in the group. But I do think there's value there. And if Luther Burden has dropped, I'd be curious as to know why. I think he's really, really talented.
Okay. Tom Luganbill on the Out of Bounds show. I was listening to your friend Todd McShay talk about the quarterbacks over the weekend, and he mentioned that Cam Ward would be 4th or 5th in last year's draft. Of course, you've talked about it. We've had others on the show that have talked about this QB class. So when you look at Cam, Shador, Dart, and others, do you agree that Cam Ward would have been the 4th or 5th quarterback ranked in last year's draft?
I kind of think all of them would be. I think Shador would be down a couple of notches. I just don't think it's a very good quarterback class. I mean, but bottom line, I think it's and somebody's going to have to reach because somebody's going to be in the position where they've got to take a guy. And I bet you there's some NFL teams that wish they weren't in that position because of the class this year. I think Jackson Dart might be sneaking into the back end of the first round. He seems to be going up everybody's boards. And again, we've talked about this before. The guys that have played a ton of football have value right now. And you have to give that to Cam Ward. Cam Ward has been a 4-year starter, all right, at 2 levels in 3 different conferences, and it has played a ton of snaps. I think there's something to be said for that. Jackson Dart, same thing. Played a ton of snaps. You look at the guys in the NFL that were rookies last year. Common denominator between Bo Nix and Jaden Daniels. 6-year guys. But all of a sudden, that adapting to the next level wasn't as steep for them. So I think with a guy like Cam Ward, there are people are going to question the air raid offense, and they're going to look at throughout history how many guys have actually succeeded out of that offense, and it's been very, very few. Right now, there's 2 in the NFL. It's Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff. And then I think with Shador, he's probably the best pure passer of the group, but he also has some bad habits. I mean, if he continues to hold on to the football like he did through college, he's going to get his head knocked off.
Right.
And so he's got to work through some of the anticipatory. I think he's really, really good with the football. He's a good decision maker. He can extend plays, deceptively good athlete. But to me, and I'm gonna actually defend him a little bit here. I think he probably, for the better part of his career at Colorado, felt like he kind of had to carry the program. So that puts you in a position where now you feel like, okay, well, I gotta hold on to the ball that split second. I gotta make this play. I gotta come up with a way to avoid punting the ball here. And then that leads you into some bad habits. And in college, you can get away with it sometimes, but when you watch them, they didn't get away with it very often. He of all the sack numbers that they had, a lot of those were on him. Sure.
Tom Luganbill on the Out of Bounds Show. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone ESPN. McShay said it's down to 2 teams. He said that with Shador Sanders. He said most people are not, really interested, but that it'll come down to 2 teams, and he's confident one of them will take him. Now, he said things could get really weird if for some reason one of those teams does not take him. So that'll be, I guess, something to look for in the top 5 or 10 that night, Luke.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think if we were looking at any other class, like you mentioned, but if there wasn't the hype and there wasn't all of the attention placed on the Colorado program last year and on Shador, would we be having this conversation about him as a first rounder? And I think it's a fair question to ask. I don't know if the answer is yes. And so, you have to kind of take that with a little grain of salt as well.
Okay. All right. So, McShay was also talking about Tyler Shuck and Oregon and Texas Tech, and you and I went back and forth on him, and he really liked him and said that the NFL people that he's talking, there's several that like him. What do you think about his game, Luke?
I totally agree. The biggest thing he did this last year is he proved he could stay healthy. That's been the biggest knock on him. Now, a lot of that was because they didn't run him, and he was a guy that did run a little bit at Oregon. He did run a little bit at Texas Tech. He's supremely talented. I mean, you talk about as a passer, he can do all the things that you want to do. I think he's like that. I think Curtis Rourke from Indiana, who was formerly at Ohio, is another guy that could have some late round value. That's a really good pure passer and has the measurables and the size and all those things that you want to have at the position. And I think that's what's interesting is I don't see, and maybe I'm way off base, but like I don't see this massive cliff between Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward and Tyler Shuck. People are having discussions like they're not even in the same conversation. I don't see it that way.
Okay. So in other words, there's not a whisker's worth of difference almost as you go through the first, second, and third tier.
I don't think there's that big of a difference. Now, that may also be one of the reasons why people don't think it's a great class, and that's fine. But let's just say if Tyler Shuck didn't get injured throughout his career, he'd already be in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. Like he may have left early. He might have, because he would have had 3 years, 4 maximum of a high level of production. But instead, he was hurt significantly on 2 different occasions, missed 2 entire seasons.
All right, let's switch gears. No, I want to go. The one guys I'm listening to all these guys that live it and breathe it. And by the way, you've been evaluating these guys since high school.
Yeah.
Then you watch them in college and you call their games. And I think you texted me over the weekend that you had called one of Tyler Shuck's games, right?
Yeah, and I did a spring game, and then I did 2. I actually did the 2 games that he got hurt in.
Oh my God.
Both of them. Yeah, one was at Texas, and then the other was, where was it? It might have been TCU. I can't remember. But yeah, I was on the sideline for both of those games.
Okay. Milroe is the guy that, like, you're not hearing anything about, Lugs, as I'm listening to these NFL draft podcasts and NFL draft podcasts. I don't think that surprises you, does it?
No, it doesn't. I think they're scared of him. I think they're really, really worried.
I think it's Anthony Richardson syndrome, kind of, a little bit. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it is. Well, I mean, listen, you can go back and pull the audio on our conversations on him. I still to this day cannot figure out how somebody could be so enamored with somebody's physical attributes, yet that same player completes 53% of his passes in college.
Yikes!
That's embarrassing, right? So then, what did you think was going to happen when the game sped up and it got more competitive? And so I just think the inconsistencies of Jalen Miller, like I know they say, okay, well, he can run like Lamar. Yeah, he can run like Lamar. Lamar is way, way more consistent in the passing game than Jalen Miller. And he was in college too. So I don't know. First of all, the guy's a great kid. Like, you would love.
Oh, that's
Jalen
good to
Milroe.
know.
Oh my God, he is awesome, and I think he's a premier athlete. I remember before he became the starter there, and I'm at practice at the Sugar Bowl for the Alabama-Kansas State game. So it was Bryce Young's last game, and we're sitting there watching the quarterbacks, and there's Ty Simpson and I think Dylan Lonergan or Eli Holstein, whatever. They were there. And then there was Jalen. And I don't want to say who said it, but like multiple people were like, God, we're trying to get him to move to safety or trying to get him to move to running back. Because he is that good of an athlete.
Wow.
Right? And I don't think anybody ever envisioned that he'd become the quarterback at Alabama, and he did. And at times, showed real flashes. But I think in the National Football League level, that the lack of consistency would catch up with him.
Okay. Tom Luganbill with ESPN on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Let's go to SEC quarterbacks. Let's go to Oxford. These are big shoes to fill. Jackson Dart was unbelievable over 3 years for Kiffin. Just unreal. Playmaker, played hurt. I think the kid impressed me, Saturday after Saturday. Austin Simmons graduates early, goes to Ole Miss, waits his turn, beats out another guy. He gets thrown in the mix against Georgia, leads them down for a touchdown. Some people forget that. Jackson, turned his ankle. I thought he was out for the game. What is your evaluation and kind of projection on what Austin Simmons could be? Some in the Ole Miss building believe that he could be a first-round NFL pick in a couple of years.
Yeah, I think that the ability level is there. I think that's a fair notion to have. It's early, right? We've seen a brief little glimpse and a little sample size. And let's not forget, not only did he graduate early, he skipped an entire grade.
Crazy.
So he didn't just like enroll early. He didn't go to his entire senior year of high school. So this is a young, highly talented kid. And then he didn't have to play right away. So I think that's the other thing in all this. And I keep going back to Arch Manning. And I tell parents this all the time. I tell kids, everybody is so hell-bent on getting on the field and being the guy the moment you step on campus without realizing that's not the best path, right? And there's a lot more things that can go wrong than go right. And this kid had the opportunity to come in, knew he wasn't going to play right away, and just kind of quietly behind the scenes worked his way up the depth chart. And now he's in a position to be far more prepared for what he's getting into than had he just arrived on campus here a month ago or 2 months ago in January, and now all of a sudden thinks he's going to play right away. Those are two different models.
Yeah, I think you hit on something there. Cooper Manning did an interview recently and said we were 100% okay with Arch sitting and watching and growing up and figuring out where everything was on campus and everything else. And boy, the patience is a virtue. It's tough, but it's going to work out for him, Luke, as you know. I mean, don't you think he's going to be phenomenal this year?
I think he's going to be a great player. I think he already is a great player, but as a result of the path he took, it's going to make him even better. He wasn't thrown to the wolves. He now, like you mentioned, he's grown, he's matured, he's gotten bigger, he's gotten faster. He knows the game more. He's been able to develop at a reasonable pace, and they're going to have great players around him. I mean, it could not have been a better recipe for how you lead a quarterback to a position to succeed.
Nailed it. And we could be talking about DJ Lagway and Arch Manning, kind of in a race to who the best quarterback is. And there's others, but they could be the two front runners as far as who's the best in the league this year, because those dudes are really, really talented, Luke.
Yeah, super talented. It's going to be a fun group of college football quarterbacks to watch this fall.
Yeah, and people are going to sleep on Nussmeier, but he's going to have a hell of a year at LSU.
No, he's going to have a great year.
Because that was his first year last year, and people forget about that. All right, dude, have a good trip to Dallas Metro, and we'll talk next week, hopefully, all right?
Will do, man. Thanks. See you.
That was great. What about, look, his thoughts and evaluation on Trey Harris, Ole Miss wide receiver going to the draft? I thought that was fantastic. And then the book ended with Austin Simmons and Arch Manning was really, really good. Luganville's crushed it on NFL draft coverage. Brought to you by an ice-cold Budweiser. How about an ice-cold Budweiser and burgers at Martin's in Livingston a little bit later? We got college baseball this week, too, Jackson. One team's down at the Beau Rivage, MGM Ballpark for a couple of games. The Mississippi State Bulldogs playing AA affiliate. Is that the Brewers down there? I'll have to look that up. We're live in the Bank Plus studio.
Stand by for audio. Got it.
It's 8 a.m., and you're tuned to Mississippi's #1 choice for non-stop sports. The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
Where am I?
On the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Good morning. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're brought to you by your next stay and play. Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, super cool sports book, inside the Golden Moon, full bar, and food menu. Get the burn-in quesadillas and the wings. Leather chairs, over 40 TVs, Timeout Sports Lounge inside the Golden Moon Casino. It is a cool sports book. Philip M's, one of my favorite old-style Vegas steakhouses. And then table games, center bar, more golf, cocktails on the back porch. Book your stay and play, dancingrabbitgolf.com. Good morning, welcome in. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone ESPN. The show is brought to you by my favorite cut of steak, the ribeye, at Kessler Prime in the Renaissance. Pair it with award-winning Elijah Craig bourbon. So excited to have Elijah Craig bourbon on the show. Small batches. They're a better value. It was just named one of the top 8 in the bourbon world, where you can get this Elijah Craig small batch for around $30. Are you kidding me? Talking about great juice. We're going to have some Elijah Craig events. You need to let me know if you want to be invited to some of those. We'll only have X amount of spots. I guess a finite amount. So let me throw out the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. If you're up for an Elijah Craig bourbon event, please let me know. Also, if you have a cool outdoor space, outdoor patio, outdoor kitchen, and you're cool with people smoking cigars, which you should be, it doesn't mess anything up, and you want to host something this spring, let us know on the text line, 601-885-3776. Twitter X at Bo Bounds. Thank you, Elon Musk, for hopefully cutting the federal government by 80%. I'm on Twitter at Bo Bounds. And then the Michelob Ultra caller line, 601-707-3750. According to Adam Schefter, Aaron Rodgers emerges as QB option for Jackson's Pittsburgh Steelers. Now that DK Metcalf is there paired with Pickens and Mike Tomlin. What? And the Jets will likely designate Rodgers as a post-June 1 release, according to Schefter. He was 5-12 there, 48 total QBR. It didn't go 28 TDs, 11 picks. Of course, he got hurt, and then they were the Jets.
It's going to be bad anyways, hurt or not. It was going to be a bad deal.
Do you like Aaron Rodgers or not?
I did. I don't
Whoa! Hold on. What was that right there?
I don't know. I don't know where I'm at on him.
Oh,
I do. I mean, I like him. I think he's a little too Aaron Rodgers for me. He's just a little too.
He's a little too Aaron Rodgers for you.
Okay. When he's dialed back, he's good.
Okay.
Now, when he gets on his little deals and his ayahuasca retreats and stuff, like that's all fine and dandy, but you ain't got to tell me about it.
Gotcha. Okay.
If that's your thing, that's your thing. You don't have to tell me about it.
I'm with you.
I don't.
So yesterday, I got to tell you what I did.
Hit me.
I went to Pearl River Resort. Inside the Golden Moon, they have a beautiful banquet room, and we had the Howell Gillum Awards there. And our listeners should be really excited about the young women and young men that represent our schools. Madison Scott won the Gillum Award. Peggy Gillum, amazing player at Ole Miss. And Josh Hubbard won the Bailey Howell Award. Bailey happens to be in something called the Basketball Hall of Fame, the Naismith Hall of Fame, and two-time world champion for the Boston Celtics. And Madison Scott was a joy to be around. And so was Josh Hubbard. And so was Sean Padula, which I got my picture with. I just love his game.
I mean, I like that guy.
He's so filthy. And Ruffin couldn't be there because they're getting ready to win more games. Mo Williams and the Jackson State Tigers.
That's right.
That dude can ball. But to all the men and women that were nominated as finalists for the Howell and Gillum Awards, congratulations. And the representation from our universities in that room at the Golden Moon on the property of Pearl River Resort was awesome. So I just wanted to say that and let you know. And look, all these teams are going to the postseason.
Yeah, all of them.
I mean, Coach Yo is the fun. I said this last year. She was the funniest. She's the most entertaining. I actually thought Beard and Jans did a good job. You know, Beard was miserable last year. They had finished the season as a wreck. They weren't going to the postseason, and he was not happy, and I get it. He did, obviously, he said some really good things about Matthew Morrell. Yeah. Jans, they were going to the tournament, but he wasn't quite on his game. Yesterday, what he said about Josh Hubbard, now they've been together for a while, what he said about Josh Hubbard and his family, powerful. What Coach Yo said about Madison Scott coaching her for 5 years was powerful. And Coach Yo's really, really funny. So, but Beard and Jans did a good job too. So, it was fun, Jacksonville. I think I took those for granted. Early on, I got into that, and then I was like, sports banquet. And then now I'm like, damn, I won't do this forever. I'm going to do it for a while, but I won't do it forever. And so it's the moments, it's the experiences. And I was with friends at the Howell Gillum Awards, and it was a ton of fun. If you want to be, look, it's an intimate, low-key, cool setting. If you want to have an opportunity to, to talk to a Sean Padula or a Josh Hubbard or a Madison Scott, I highly recommend getting a table. It's cool. It's fun. You're right there beside them. It's very low key. You can approach them. I mean, I went over and bothered Beard and Jans and Padula and Hub and talked to Coach Yo, and it was a ton of fun on the property of Pearl River Resort. And Pearl River, they roll out the red carpet for all these athletes and the universities. And by the way, you see them on all the jumbotrons. Pearl River Resort, I hope you'll remember this when you're booking your next conference, because they have really stepped up their game in the conference world. And I see people with badges every time I'm up there. But they are huge supporters of Ole Miss and Mississippi State and Southern Miss and so on. Huge. So that was powered by PearlRiverResort.com. I have to give my partners and my friends, and I mean a wonderful partner for us, some props. Okay, I got a couple of things. We're going to get off sports for a minute. We have gone. That's another 4 hours of hardcore sports, Jackson. All right, we got to get into some food and beverage and pop culture, and then we'll get back into Mike Detillier. We'll get into WWL Radio TV New Orleans. Mike D, baby. He'll join us at 8:30 on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. It'll be brought to you by your next video wall for your business, university, high school, law firm. Powered by Sound and Communications. SoundcomAV.com. All right, what did we miss yesterday? We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Good morning to you. Oh, wow. And we're live in the Bank Plus studio. I was getting to something here, and now I can't find it, but I know where I want to go. It was National Landline Telephone Day. People used to walk. They could only walk 10 feet in a, kind of little area and talk to their friends or family members. Can you imagine? You can't.
Oh, I can. I remember.
No, you don't.
Oh, yeah. I remember them like it was yesterday. I remember when the cordless phone hit.
Oh, yeah.
That was a big deal.
Those were hit and miss.
Yeah.
Those were hit and miss.
Had to get you going.
Right.
Oh, I recall.
Who is the leader in the cordless industry? I don't even remember, but somebody made a fortune there for a minute.
Somebody made a nice.
I mean, it wasn't Nokia, but it was some. I don't remember. I can't pull it. But the landline thing is wild to think about.
I feel like they came. Like I remember. All right,
how much did Bell South?
I was about to say Bell South. They had their own phone.
Yeah. How much did they make? I guess installing landlines because you had to have 5 quadrillion of them. Good hell!
Oh my gosh, they printed.
Money. They did print money. The people that bought that stock in 1958 or whatever printed money.
I
guess if they got out, exited, and all that. Yeah.
Jeez.
As it got gobbled up by others. Unreal.
I mean, those things, I'll credit those with my intelligence. My intelligence comes from from having those kind of phones. That's where I started to learn and memorize numbers. That's what started me off on the right path.
You're tying in your intelligence to
a wired phone, yes.
To a landline phone?
That's correct.
Okay, this is fascinating. We may have to do some kind of study on this.
Well, I mean, it just made my brain work because I had to memorize numbers.
I do. I remember that. I mean, you had to memorize all your friends' numbers,
right? Which I still know a chunk of them.
I know.
You'd
pick up the phone,
no hesitation. When the cell phones came out, you have no idea what their cell phone's number.
No,
you have no idea.
No,
I don't know my girlfriend's cell phone number. She doesn't know my number either. She shouldn't. We have cell phones.
You may want to know that. I mean, I know Wendy's number.
She needs to know my number. Sure.
How's that? How long have y'all lived together? How is this going? Because, you're full domesticated here. Did that happen like last September?
Last September. August, something like that.
Okay. So you're going on 6 months.
Heavy.
6-7 months.
Heavy.
Okay. How do you like, would you rather be solo bachelor? Or?
Man, I like it. It's cool. We're cooling.
Okay.
And I got, now they got me a new blower. I'm in there.
Yeah?
Oh, it's unreal.
Okay.
Keeping things clean.
Hartley Equipment has your next steel or bad boy blower. Boom. We had a good time there at Hartley Equipment on Friday.
Sounded like it.
Yeah.
Sounded like a lot going on.
And they had food trucks there. By the time I was done with the show and packing everything up and getting everything all tidy and the food truck, I turned around and these 2 ladies were smiling. They were like, and the menu looked great. We had to come here and interview the Tom Brady of winemaking,
right?
Mark Carter with Carter Cellars. And so that was a ton of, what was that guy a trip or what?
He was cool. I liked him. I liked him a lot.
That's on our podcast, Apple Podcast or Spotify. If you like wine, He's had 25 100-point wines. You think that's good? You know, Robert Parker and others have said, yeah, Mark Carter's awesome. 25 100-point wines. Mark Carter is a trip with Carter Cellars.
It was great.
And I got to drink some of his wine. It was delicious. I'd had it before, but not a lot. And then our friend Alan Lang, facilitated, was great. He shared some, we made a toast with some Elijah Craig barrel pick bourbon. Wasn't that great?
I like that guy a lot. He was funny.
That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
25 100-point wines. Anyway, all right. So that's kind of what we were talking about then. I got to go into some of these birthdays, okay? Because these are big. Yeah, Chuck Norris, legend.
Yep, that's a legend. Yeah,
Sharon Stone, legendary.
Another one.
Obviously, she had some scenes that have been iconic, to say the least. One with Michael Douglas, but others. And then Carrie Underwood, who you have met and have told me she's one of the most beautiful women you've ever met.
That's true. This is a fact. High maintenance, but she's
she is high maintenance?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can tell why.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she floats.
Yeah, I could see that. Okay.
She's a floater. She doesn't walk very much. Doesn't have to. I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy.
Sharon Stone's single. If you're looking for a cougar.
Well, the cougars are typically on the prowl, right?
I didn't realize how tall she was. She's 5'8". So that makes sense, though. And then they put her in heels in some of those movies.
Every bit of 6 foot almost.
Yeah. And, of course, Basic Instinct is what everybody thinks of. But, Total Recall, The Muse, so many different things that she did.
Catwoman.
Yeah.
She was Catwoman, right? Yeah, it was her. Yeah.
Let's see. What else? I didn't know they made a Basic Instinct 2. Sorry, I missed that. God, I'm sure that was terrible.
The sequel.
I bet my buddy Stephen Clay watched it. He watches all sequels, even when they're terrible. It's just been this running. I can't watch it. He can go. He can sit through a bad movie.
All sequels.
I am notorious for if something starts. Now it kind of drives Wendy crazy, but she's kind of figured out what I can do, what I can't. But if 10 minutes in, I'm out.
Yeah.
I will turn something off. I can't do it. What about you?
Yeah, you got to.
I see you as one who watches bad movies.
It's one of those deals where I feel like if I start it, I got to finish it.
See, I'm not. I'll bounce around. Now, sometimes it probably gets frustrating because I'll bounce around. If I can't get into a show, all of a sudden I've wasted. I get that there is a downside if I'm going into 3 shows and watching a little bit, and then I've blown 45 minutes watching 10 minutes or so a pop. I don't know what that says about me, but that's where I am. But last night, Wendy and I didn't even turn on the TV. We just hung. Oh, we sat outside forever. It felt great. Daylight savings time.
That's right.
And, so
nice.
we sat out on the back porch with Rex as empty nesters and just hung out.
That's the way to move.
Yeah, somebody had made homemade spaghetti for us. And dropped it off. It was insane how good the red sauce and the meat. Oh, man. So we had spaghetti last night. What do you think about that?
I like that a lot. You gotta.
I love really good spaghetti.
It means they can their own tomatoes and everything.
Oh,
that's the way to
man. Because you're a DeLuca.
That's right. We can tomatoes.
Yeah. And throw people in rivers. Yeah.
Don't check all of them around here.
All right. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Lunch today brought to you by Aplos. Jackson Meadows recommends that you go on a year rotation at Aplos in the Renaissance and Aplos in Highland Village. Try all the gyros and then rank them. They're all good. Pair them with some Parmesan fries and a Stella Artois. Boom. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, coming up next. All right. Good morning. Welcome in.
They got their ass kicked last year. They're soft as cotton.
Yeah, you damn right.
Good morning. Welcome in. Mike Detillier, NFL Insider, WWL Radio, TV, New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. We're ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
Big, tall drink of water quarterback can really hum it downfield.
NFL draft right around the corner, but NFL QBs moving around left and right. Our interview today is brought to you by your next video wall for your business, for your school, for your lobby, hospital, law firm, CPA firm, sound and communications. Call them. They are the leader. SoundcomAV.com for your next video wall for your business. Or maybe you want to put a video wall in your man room for March Madness. We welcome in Mike D on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. Mike D, with all the NFL QBs moving around here, and Sam Darnold to the Seahawks and Geno to the Raiders and so on, who's the winner so far, according to Mike D?
Well, if you're moving around, you know you're in a team that's not very good. I'll just tell you, you didn't figure that out real quick. I think Geno Smith really sort of won out here. He sort of forced his way out of Seattle. He turned down a deal that was very similar to the one Sam Darnold accepted in Seattle. And he goes now play for a coach who he's got a lot of familiarity with in Pete Carroll. He understands how Pete wants to run his offense. Pete's always built his offense. I don't care where he's been in the NFL or in the college ranks at USC. He wants to run the ball. And so I think Geno came out a winner here. The thing with Sam Darnold is to watch. You know, he didn't bring Kevin O'Connell with him. And I think Kevin had a lot to do with his development as a player. He certainly learned a lot with Shanahan, that kind of 1 year that he went there and sort of was a groom to take over somewhere, not San Francisco. So O'Connell had a lot to do with his success. Now let's see how well he does with J.J. McCarthy. I think that's the big question mark. And it, in the end, it may be McCarthy the bigger winner out of all of them, because we didn't see him play last year at all, not one lick. And Darnold does not get to bring Justin Jefferson with him either.
Ooh, top three wide receiver.
And that offensive line of Seattle's, put it to you this way, it wasn't good. Not that Minnesota's offensive line was great last year, and it sort of tilted down once they lost Christian Darrisaw. Darrisaw is one of the best left tackles in pro football. A lot of people, you know, who is that guy? No, watch him play. You see how good that guy is. They weren't as good. They got a lot of leakage on that left side once Darrisaw went down to the knee injury. So financially, all of them did well. You know, yeah. Geno did well. Sam did well. Justin Fields did well. Man, Justin's got a lot of bright lights flying on him and where he's going with the Jets. And the fact that, okay, the Bears didn't think he was good enough to be a starter. The Steelers didn't think he was good enough to be their full-time starter. Now he goes to New York with that kind of spotlight on him. That's a heavy load. That's going to be a heavy one for Justin Fields to carry. He's a gifted athlete. We can see his improvisational skills with his feet and his ability to run the football are up a level. But he's so erratic throwing the football. And unless that changes, and again, you had two regimes didn't think it was good enough. Now he's with the third one. Can he pull maybe a Baker Mayfield? We'll see. But that's a tough task. Man, I'd want to play if I had that defense, though. That Jets defense is really good. Really, really good.
Okay, so let's stay on Justin Fields out of Ohio State for just a second. Where you're going, you know, the Bears, and God knows, you know how many coaches are are on an NFL staff and assistants and this and that, and the Steelers look at him and they don't think he can do it. I think he is who he is, and I don't think he can. Do you think that he can somehow become another level player with the Jets?
Well,
Mike D?
I won't be Sean Connery as James Bond and say never, but it's about as close as I can get to it.
Okay.
I agree with you to that point, Bo. I think you to that point, he's never going to be that consistent downfield passer. And in this world, you got to be able to be accurate. And with him, you watch him. 1 week he looks really good, and then the next week, man, he looks really awful throwing the football. He got bad mechanics, and so can that be fixed? I would say probably not, but it's even more the pressure of playing in New York. And we've seen guys crumble under that immense pressure of playing in that spotlight of New York.
Yeah, Eli handled it well, and there've been a couple others, but good grief, man.
Okay, think about it. In my lifetime,
Phil Simms
handled it pretty well, okay, with the Giants. Eli handled it pretty well in New York. With the Jets, I saw the early Namath. I'm a little older than you. So I got to see Joe. Joe reveled in it. Man, New York was built for Joe, so to speak. But post Joe Namath, who has handled that well with the Jets as a starting quarterback?
Boomer for 5 seconds? I don't know, Mike. You would know more than I would.
It's a real short kind of run with everything.
Yeah.
And so, they've thought maybe Sam Darnold was going to be that guy. It didn't turn out that way. And people can say what they want. Kind of fit has a lot to do with your success in life. Where you go, where the people that surround you, the management, everything else in any profession, and including sports. And I think it shows up even more when you're in New York, where all eyes are on you. I don't care if it's baseball with Yankees, Mets, if it's with the Knicks in basketball, if it's with the Jets, Giants. When you win, you on top of the world. Because, there's no other spot where you will get that. People say, what about Los Angeles? Los Angeles, you got to read page 5 to read about the Rams and the LA Times. And come on. Dodgers, Lakers, USC football. They tsunami everything, so to speak, in Los Angeles. And they got so many other things you can do there. New York is different, man. It's a sports town, big time. And to be the quarterback there, yeah, it's great when you're winning. Man, when you're not, it's really difficult. And I think it adds to the pressure of being in that spot. What did Phil Jackson do in New York with the Knicks?
That's a great point.
Think of that. Phil won in Chicago, won in L.A. What did he do in New York?
Yeah. Pat Riley was able to handle it with the New York Knicks.
Pat handled it really well.
And outside of and of course the Yanks have gone through their runs.
The Steinbrenner years were, as I saw, I guess I was a teenager when Steinbrenner bought the team. But the Yankees were used even when there weren't any because of George. Right. He made his own use. Come on. Jerry Jones is a C- student compared to George Steinbrenner.
No question. I'd go D. Yeah, I agree, Mike. I agree.
George lived in his own little world. Listen, when they do sitcoms, like Seinfeld, and they got a guy portraying you, damn well you've made it big.
That's right. That's right. All right. So Geno, I agree with you. You know, to me, Geno a lot of NFL QBs can't do this. He's like, I know what I am. I know what I can do. And I'm okay with Pete Carroll saying, here's what we're going to do. This is what you do well. And we're going to run the football. And a brutal division. But to me, out of all of this, that's the marriage that's going to work. Mike D.
Yeah, because it has in the past, and they have mutual respect for one another. And I do agree with you. Geno knows his limitations as a player. And I think he understands his best friend is a running game. He didn't not have all of that around him last year. And a lot of it was not to do with the running backs. It was to do with the offensive line. When your running backs are getting hit in the backfield right after they take the handoff, you can't blame that on the running backs at all. And Geno took a lot of shots last year, too. And, there are moments Geno looks great as a passer. Okay, him as a consistent guy, we see moments of it where he'll play a stretch, 3 or 4 games where he really looks good, and then he'll always have that stinker or 2 in the games. But he understands who he is as a player. And I think it's a great point you bring up that a lot of times guys that they don't understand their limitations as a player. Really don't. They don't get it.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds Show, WWL Radio TV New Orleans. You mentioned that you believe that the Saints and Kellen Moore and Mickey Loomis will move off of Derek Carr. Do you think that they'll consider, I think maybe it's after June 1, do you think that they'll consider Russell Wilson?
I doubt seriously.
Okay.
I doubt seriously. I think because of the way the contract is structured now, you saddled with Derek for the 2025 season.
Okay.
But you got a quarterback that's not going to be here in the future. Okay. The salary cap, and there are ways to work around it with those voidable years and throwing money back. You still have to pay the bill. Okay. It's not like, some people, I guess maybe they live this way. They max a credit card out and then they get a new credit card with 6 months of free interest. Well, I don't have a bill there. No, but you got a bill somewhere else. Okay, eventually, and the salary cap going up every year does help you, but you're going to have to take that money off of your salary cap. I think the Saints would like to move on, but I think they've kind of convinced themselves, the best chance to win this year is with Derek. Here's my thing. Look how Derek has handled this. Have you heard one peep from Derek Carr?
No.
All season?
No.
Nothing. That tells you everything. Okay, he's moved back to California. Tells you the whole story here with Derek Carr. He's not your future. He is for 2025 just because you kind of saddled with him contractually.
Gotcha.
But and Russell Wilson, you jumping from the frying pan into the fire. I mean, it's the same situation with Russell. He's at this stage of his career is a similar quarterback to Derek Carr.
Fair enough. Okay.
At this stage, not a younger one. The younger one was different. But I think the older guy and Sean Payton saw that very quickly. And maybe a little bit too of, life's been nice off the field for Russell Wilson. The one thing with Drew always made things uncomfortable for himself. He always had that challenge to make things uncomfortable for himself. Tom Brady did that when he played. Peyton Manning did that when he played. With Russell, things have been nice off the field, So, and I think Sean, he loves that edge.
That friction.
You have at that position. That pressure that you put on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why Drew was so special. He could handle, as you know, Sean's fury and edge. And
he could handle his own criticism of himself.
Right.
Because the hardest criticism guys like Brady and Manning and Burrow today or Josh Allen or Drew is criticism they give themselves, not guys like me or you or any fan. That's one thing. It's the criticism they put on themselves. It's a self-induced pressure. I think Sean loved that about Drew, that he had that element to him as a quarterback. That and anything you say about me is nothing the way I feel about me. Nothing. You can't put as much pressure as I put on myself. And some guys handle that well and some guys don't. That's why I knew Russell Wilson and Sean was not going to be a good marriage. I knew that wasn't going to work.
Oh, Mike D looked at that early and said, "No, that's not gonna be the deal." Which is impressive. We're visiting with Mike Detillier, NFL insider, WWL Radio, TV New Orleans. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. I think that says a lot about Bo Nix, Mike, because you're right. Drew was able to handle Sean, but Drew had already been in the league for a few years, which he was older and more mature and obviously went through the devastating injury. What does that say about Bo Nix to be thrown in the fury and the edge and the fire of Sean and handle it as a rookie, Mike D?
He got a thick hide. Okay, but you got to understand how he grew up with his dad, a former player, a coach. And so you grew up that way. He took a lot of heat at Auburn. Oh my goodness. Because he came in as sort of the savior for the program.
And that was the media. I mean, he got thrown in the mix as a true freshman. Not that many guys in our league, Mike, as you know, are just freaking awesome right off. I mean, people forget Tebow was a spot player. Chris Leak and that defense were unreal his first year. Bama waits on QBs a lot of times. Georgia, you know that. I thought it was, to be honest, I thought it was unfair, the criticism as a true freshman.
And his play was erratic. Also, when he got on the field, you saw a lot of disconnect at times that I think at Oregon, he went to the right coach, right scheme, right fit. I thought it was perfect for him. It may not have been perfect for everybody else, but it was perfect for him. And that short, quick, rhythmatic type throws that they were involved with. And Sean has a lot of that in his offense, that it's very calculated in where he's going with the football. And the other thing is, Bo Nix is a lot more athletic than people give him credit for.
Agree.
And what drove Sean crazy, and I knew it would, was Russell Wilson took a lot of sacks. And that is nothing that gets under Peyton's skin more than that. You look at Bo Nix, he's got the ability to get out of the way of pressure. Now, he did use the phrase, he got a lot of Ferris Bueller in him, Bo Nix. I knew exactly where he was going with that. That at times he will take a chance and you say, what the hell were you doing? But that is part of being a young quarterback in this league.
Sure.
He didn't have to worry about too many Ferris Bueller's moments with Drew Brees. He was more Ferris Bueller than what Drew was.
No doubt.
So, I think you got to give Bo a lot of credit that he was able to adapt. He adapted to a new system. And Dan Lanning, I think, is a hell of a coach at Oregon. But what was put in place really fit Nick so well. And then he goes now being coached by Sean Payton. And I think he understands that the criticism there isn't just to jump his butt, but to get him better as a player. Some guys don't understand it. If that coach is not on you, that means you ain't on the team.
That's right.
I mean, I've been around a lot of them and say, why am I going to waste my time jumping some guy that I know can't play? I'm going to jump a guy that I know somewhere down the line, either I'm going to have to use him or I am using him as a player today. And coaches have that mindset, even though they won't admit it, but it's true.
Do you think Kellen Moore, and I have no idea, okay? I mean, he looks like he's 24 years old, but this doesn't, and he's always smiling, but he could have a ton of bite in him. Do you think he's going to have enough bite and presence to run an NFL team, Mike D?
I don't have a question mark if he can be a head coach. My big question mark is, will they give him the right personnel? Because the crux of the matter with the Saints is they haven't drafted very well, and they haven't developed players, at the same level that we saw it with Peyton. And you can't saddle him with a roster that doesn't have talent. And people want to fool themselves. Oh, this team just was hurt by injuries. My thing is, when the second string guy came in there, it was a Mount Everest fall off as a player. Okay? Next man up don't apply. That's great in the locker room. That's great to feed the media and people that don't know no better. But there is a reality check that when you start losing players at positions that you didn't address, and that's a front office head coaching decision, dual-wise, that's when this team fell apart. They didn't have enough depth to overcome it. You can talk about all the injuries you want. Detroit had a bunch of injuries too, and they made the playoffs. And they had a ton of injuries, especially on the defensive side, the football. So they got people that I think is pie in the sky, and even some in the organization that think that it's really not a personnel kind of downfall, but it is. They don't have enough core good young players on this football team. And I think that was the big reason why, if you're going to take a chance with a player, you take that with a guy like Chase Young.
Oh, yeah.
He's 25 years old. He has flashed it at times. But I think what's gotten this team in trouble, boys, is they've given long-term contract extensions to guys that are 30 and 31 years old that have already played their best football. Now, where do you go with that?
Mike D was awesome today. Thanks, Mike Detillier. Talk to you next week.
Thank you, brother.
He's awesome at Mike Detillier on Twitter. That's brought to you by your next video wall. On your campus, school, university, business, technology, hospital. Your next video wall is powered by Sound and Communications. SoundComAV.com.
Say, kids, what time is it?
It's 9 a.m. and this ain't okay show. It's the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
All aboard!
As Mississippi's #1 morning show rolls on the Zone 105.9 and online at thezone1059.com.
Oh, man. Goodness.
He's the big wolf in the dog.
Good morning. Welcome in. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Ooh. Brought to you by Eye Care Professionals. Dr. Kirk Jeffries and all the physicians at Eye Care Professionals. 2 locations on Lakeland Drive. How about that? Both on Lakeland Drive. One in Jackson, one Flowood Belmead. If you need cataract surgery, you want to call Eye Care Professionals today. Eye Care Professionals. See the difference. Or your son or daughter, or you for that matter, you need to see the baseball better, tennis ball, softball, football. Lots of traffic on Friday nights, right? Soccer ball.
Told you.
Yeah, you need that. You need your eyes for sure.
Told you.
Split second stuff, man. That ball's moving. Eye Care Professionals. See the difference. 2 locations on Lakeland Drive, Jackson, Flowood, Belmead. Cataract surgery, or you need to see that change up, or you're playing second base in softball. You got to be ready.
So they did it for my buddy. I told you about it. They, he was pretty good game, pretty good ball player, pretty good hitter, and then he went and got his eyes done out there at Eye Care and led D3 in bombs.
Boom.
Just like that. Very next year.
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. It was honestly, and then we were kind of mad at him for not getting his eyes done years ago.
Yeah. Well, look, that's why I say, if your son or daughter's playing tennis, or softball, or football, whether you're a DB or safety or a wide receiver or tight end, got to make sure. The Dodgers wrote a book about it.
Really?
They wait.
They
didn't write it. There was a book written on the Dodgers were on the cutting edge in scouting decades ago.
Right.
And they talked about eyesight. Like, I'd love to know what Jake Mangum's eyesight is. But there is a book that they looked at it, and they would test people before getting them in the system. Or if they were in the system and they thought, hey,
let's check.
Is he picking up the baseball the way he should?
Love that.
Decades ago.
Wow.
So Eye Care Professionals, see the difference. You want a top-notch checkup, and so on.
Hey. Freaking Dodgers.
I'm fired up about tomorrow. I cannot believe we have this many teams playing on day one that are going to make the NCAA tournament. Never happened in the history of the league. That Oklahoma-Georgia matchup, they're going to be fighting like it's an NCAA tournament game. Mississippi State needs to win. That's the late night game, by the way, late night game. Mississippi State and LSU at 6. LSU has some good players. They haven't done what they wanted to do. They've been close, but they could have turned 4 games and be in a different spot. MSU can't. They're good. They're not good enough to take anybody for granted. That'll be a 6:00 tip. Before that, you get Vanderbilt in Texas. Vandy's going. They've been impressive. And then the first game, you can call it the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game. The first game tomorrow at noon. Go ahead and make your lunch plans. The first game is Cal and the Hogs against South Carolina. And if they win, they're in. Unless something, crazy happens. And then they play Ole Miss if they win. If Arkansas wins, Arkansas plays Ole Miss at noon the next day on Thursday. And that's the Tito's Vodka Bloody Mary game.
But want nothing to do with them. Nothing to do with Arkansas right now.
Yeah. Well,
He's the big wolf in the dog.
don't let them get rolling.
That's what I'm telling you.
Now, they may lose tomorrow, but if they win,
Sure.
and that means they're in, I'm looking right here. All right, so Ole Miss is still holding at 27.
Okay.
Net rankings. All right. Had a super 21-10, 7 quad 1 wins. Mississippi State, 20-11, 7 quad 1 wins. Go right here to 39th, Arkansas. 6-9 quad 1 wins. They win tomorrow. I think they're in.
Is the SEC going to break the record?
Yes,
They are. The Big East, what is that, Big East record?
I don't know if it's ACC or Big East. That's a good question. I should probably look that up. But right behind Arkansas, they got some work to do. Is North Carolina? Here's the deal with North Carolina. This is why Danny Cannell running his mouth on Twitter about the ACC. He looks like a fool, and it's why Greg Sankey quote tweeted him and just body bagged him.
No.
Oh, over the weekend, the commissioner of the SEC quote tweeted Greg Sankey and listed all the non-conference and all the, just body bag. He took Danny Cannell out to the river and dumped him. Danny bada boom, baby.
You idiot.
Yeah.
He has the biggest bark and the biggest bite.
Yeah, Greg Sankey does. North Carolina is 1-11 in quad 1.
Do what?
That's when we talk about the power of conferences. I need you to know that North Carolina, yes, they've gone on a run. North Carolina is 1-11 in quad 1 wins. That's pitiful.
What in the world?
They hadn't had the opportunities because the ACC's not good.
Sure, but
that's part of it. Yeah. So they're at 40, but the reason why Lenardi won't put them in, they're at number 40 net rankings. But they hadn't beat anybody
at all.
And then Arkansas is right beside them. Arkansas is 6-9 in quad. They've won 6 quad 1 games, and we thought they were terrible in the month of January. Well, and they kind of were. But we want to write everybody's script right off the bat, and then it really is a marathon. It's not a sprint. This damn game, college hoops, damn sure is. It is a marathon. North Carolina's 1-11.
That is absurd.
How about this? Vanderbilt's at 43, a few slots behind North Carolina. They're 5-8 in quad 1. More opportunities, more dubs.
1-11. They've
1-11.
That's NIT bound then, right?
Well, that or rip. You got to face. I don't know where the ACC tournament is. I should. I assume it's in Charlotte or somewhere. But I'm just telling you, they only have one team in the top 22. Hold on, is it 21 or 22? No, they only have one team in the top 21.
That's a
Duke.
Yeah.
Hey, the Dancing Rabbit Golf text line, 601-885-3776. Book your stay and play for March Madness. That's a good 24, 36, 48 hours. Golf at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. The sports book, so much fun to watch with friends. They got 9,000 games on, full bar, full food menu, table games, and Philip M's to cap off the night. DancingRabbitGolf.com, PearlRiverResort.com. Text line 601-885-3776. All right. You know how much we talk about food and beverage. This weekend is the Jackson Food and Wine Festival. Don't miss out on an incredible dining experience at Chef Chair Nick Wallace's restaurant, The Hen and Egg. Limited tickets available now. Friday seating at 6 and, two of them, 6 o'clock and 8:30. So both seatings are still available. And the two dinners, 6 o'clock and 8:30. You can go to JacksonJXNFoodandWine.com. They're going to have two amazing dinners Friday night. And limited tickets available. Now's your choice to savor delicious flavors in a cozy atmosphere. I went to the Jackson Food and Wine Festival last year. Of course, the VIP sold out in 24 hours several weeks ago. And then the GA tickets went. And now you've got a chance to do the Friday feast at the Hen and Egg dinners. That's all that's left.
Dang.
And they're awesome. But again, we said, I don't know if that was 3 or 4 weeks ago, but JP and Tim both texted me and said VIP is going to sell out in 24 hours. As soon as they hit, it did. The VIP was amazing, but so was the general admission last year. Wendy and I had a blast. Just a super time. I get all into that. I mean, just so many talented chefs from New York, Nashville, the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and everywhere in between. It's at the Mississippi Museum of Art, which is an amazing venue. So pretty, so well done. And from music to food to beverage, I'm glad that we have. It was a long time coming. And I'm glad that not only do we have our own food and wine festival in Jackson, but that it sells out basically in VIP in 24 hours, and the general admission was shortly thereafter. So it's the demand will only continue to skyrocket. The talent is insane. Beard nominees, Beard Award winners. Nick Wallace is the driving force, fantastic dude and chef. Then you got people coming in like Gabrielle Pescuzzi from Portland, Oregon, Michelle Wallace, Houston, Texas, Sarah Welsh, Detroit, Michigan, Vanessa Bordeaux, Nashville, Tennessee, Desi Bourgeois, Russin, Louisiana, our local talent, Damian Savici, Howland Mouse. He and his wife done an amazing job down there. John Davis City Grocery, and Tuck Tuck Snap Shop, Lexington, Kentucky, Sam Foray. I haven't been to Tuck Tuck Snack Shop, but I plan on going when we go in June to pick out our the Elijah Craig bourbon pick that will then hit a few months later. What else do we have? Alex Harrell, the Gloriette at the Southern Hotel in North Shore, Louisiana. And, the list goes on and on. Good grief. It's a who's who here. Ty Tim's from Starkville. I just was in Restaurant Tyler. They did char-grilled oysters last week. Ooh. I didn't know that, but my buddy that I met, I was solo and he was solo. So last week I went up, I took Ella Hall a car so that they could go. She has a car, but wanted to go in a different car on their road trip. And we went to lunch, Ella Hall and I did, and then we went to the baseball game, had a great time. That night, dinner, no plans, went to Restaurant Tyler. They were doing char-grilled oysters as a special app. Nailed it. A lot of times they'll put them on the table and they've just cooked them to death. And they look like an eraser on the end of a pencil. That drives me crazy. Just don't serve them. These were char-grilled perfectly. Boom, hit the table. It was a smash attack. And yes, when I sat down and Restaurant Tyler has it, I ordered an Elijah Craig small batch. But Ty Tim's will be there. They've done a great job at the guest room. And Ben 612 is super. A day like this, Ben 612 in the afternoon, little day beverage, appetizer.
It's just that Clinton deal.
Yeah.
Clinton.
Is Ty from Clinton?
Sure as heck is.
That's so cool. Austin Summerall will be there from White Pillars in Biloxi. He's on a roll. So it's left and right. Culinary from Portland, Detroit, Jackson, Mississippi Gulf Coast, Oxford, Starkville, Hattiesburg. It's awesome. It's awesome. So Jackson Food and Wine Festival. Nick Wallace we had him come out and cook for us a couple of years ago, 40 of us at our clubhouse, put on a clinic. And it was amazing, is what it was. And he's got 2 Friday dinners, 6:00 seating and 8:30. His new concept restaurant, The Hen and Egg, and it'll be an incredible dining experience. 6 and 8:30. JacksonFoodandWine.com. JXNFoodandWine.com. Sold out last year, sold out this year. That's good for our city. It's good for our metro area. And to bring in that much talent is fantastic for everybody. And then it's good for the hotels and the other restaurants and bars. So it'll be a big week at the Mississippi Museum of Art. Beautiful green space, outdoor area. And Wendy and I had a blast last year. We'll be there. We'll be there this year. Okay. So, Jackson, you doing all right?
Yeah, I got caught up looking at high school basketball in the state. But I just forgot I forgot the Raymond Rangers, right?
I do.
Down the road.
I've been to Raymond. That's Josh Raggio country.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. I didn't realize they going back to back. And with completely different starting fives.
Nice.
It's impressive to me. So it means
So they got that they got that action going in.
They got action going on. I don't know maybe it's Raggio inspired.
It could be. You and I are all about that action.
It's just what I'm here for.
$2.72 billion wagered legally on March Madness last year. It'll be more than that this year.
Yeah, what do you think it's going to be?
Legally, it'll be closer to $3 billion.
Okay.
And then they said just everywhere, offshore bookies, guys like me or you,
right?
You taking Arkansas and me taking Clemson,
casual wager,
right? 15+ billion, and so it's going to be absolutely wild. Speaking of that action, we're going to be at Pearl River Resort a good bit, and I'm looking forward to it. In fact, we'll be there Selection Sunday.
That's tight.
Mick Gillespie and I, Mick's out of Alabama, has several Crimson Tide shows and the tailgating show and pregame, postgame for Alabama, and they actually mix it up and have a large time. He and Jake Coker. I've had a blast with them at Dancing Rabbit Golf Club and Pearl River Resort. But Mick and I will be there Sunday. We'll do a show, and then Monday morning we'll fire off. The brackets will be released at 5:00 on Sunday afternoon on CBS, as you know, and they'll roll those out. We'll get to see where Mississippi State and Jans and Hubbard and Ole Miss and Beard and Padula are headed, and everybody else, the number ones and the number twos. So we'll be there Sunday. We'll hammer Mom and M's. It'll be a wings fest. And then Monday morning, I'm doing my show there, 7 to 10 a.m.
Nice.
And I'm ready for March Madness, my favorite sporting event, tournament. And, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week's going to be amazing. Tomorrow's going to be fun, though. Arkansas and South Carolina at 12, Vanderbilt, Texas at 2, Mississippi State, LSU at 6, and Oklahoma and Georgia for the nightcap at whatever time they'll tip off, 8:30, 9 maybe. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, and we're brought to you by Superior Foundation for all your foundation repairs. Also, speaking of March Madness, mssmarthomes.com. Get the Sonos system for your house. mssmarthomes.com. Call Jake Manning today.